So Kodama just told you that you've got overlapped UVs per UV island. All right. So you head over to your UV editing and you start looking around for overlaps. And what you're probably hoping to find is, oh, there's an overlapped island. Yeah. But that's actually not the problem here, if you can believe that. You might be looking and hoping that you're going to find something like, oh, look at that. A little overlap like this. And you can fix that. But you've looked and you cannot find any overlaps anywhere in your UV. Well, this one has an overlap right here. Can you see it? I'm sure you can't because it's invisible. Because there's actually overlapping vertices on this single island. So we don't have an island overlaying another one. We don't have a face that's visible over another one, but we've got two vertices right here. And you can see that when you pull it apart. Well, how could you ever find something like this? I'll show you with a simpler example first. And so here I've got a model that shows the same problem, but it's a lot simpler to understand. We've got the overlapped UVs per island. Yet all we have here is a simple plane. It's been subdivided. A few of the vertices have been moved just a little bit off that plane. But the problem is this errant seam right here. It doesn't define another island. It doesn't define a break in the geometry. And so if we go to the UV editing, when we look at it, we're not going to see any overlap. But just like with the other model, somewhere right here, I guess, we'll find that we've got overlaying vertices, creating that overlap in the UV. So to fix this, it's pretty simple. We can just UV clear seam and unwrap again. And now we won't have that problem. If we go to Layout, File, Save, launch Kodama again, reevaluate, no problem. All checks successful. Now I'll show you how to find that, how to find these errant seams in a more complex model, the one we started with. So here we are with the original model. We've got our problem. You should always click on these to see exactly what it says, and it's telling us that that's the object that has the problem. My problem here, or my trouble, is that when I go to search for that, this is quite a complex object, and it's hard to find errant seams. So one of the first tricks with something this complex is I just break it apart, separate by loose parts. And so now it's actually broken my model into 4 parts. And so if I run Kodama again, we'll have to save, reevaluate. Okay, so unacceptable characters with the little 0.001, 0.002 extensions. But we have the overlapped UVs per island. And when we look into that, it's only on the tongs 20, that's the first one here, and 3. So these 2 are not a problem. I'm just going to get rid of them for now. This is why you make a copy of your work. And when we look at it, 3, well, these 2 objects are the same. They're just, because I just copied and flipped it over to make the top half, so I can get rid of half of it, and I can just look at part of it. Of course, our problem is still there. Save the file first. But yes, so we know that the problem is going to be here, and with the top size when I copy it. So when we start looking again, get into Edit. If you're still having problems because it's too complex, you can eliminate part of your object until you finally get no overlapping UVs. In this case, I found the overlap was right here, because this part of the seam is not necessary. Previously, I had a seam going across here, but when I eliminated it, I forgot to eliminate this one. And this acts exactly like the errant seam on the plane. These seams in the corners don't matter because there's an angle there. Those parts of the UV are going to lay outward in this direction, outward in that direction, and they're not going to be overlapping. But these parts that are on a very flat surface here are going to be perfectly overlaid, so that we're going to wind up with that overlaid vertice. So if I just take that one, we'll clear that seam, UV, clear seam. I'll go to my UV editing. Oh boy, I don't want the whole UV to be regenerated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deselect where the seam was, just the vertices that were the problem. So that's the 3 sections that had the problem. Over here on the map itself, I'll select everything, select all, UV pin, so everything's pinned in place. Back here, I'll select all, and now we have these vertices here that we want to reproject. And if we just say unwrap conformal, they'll wind up back in the same place. And you can't see the difference, but if we go in and check now, we don't have vertices on top of other vertices. So if we go back to our verification process, save your file, launch Kodama, reevaluate, everything's successful. So if you've gotten that overlaid UV islands per UV island or whatever the error is, and you can't figure out where it is in your UV map, you can't find anything that seems to be overlaid, you may have overlaid vertices, and the way to find those is, as I said, find the offending portion of your geometry, and then search for the unnecessary seams, or the errant seams as I call them, which is what we had here. Hope that helps. Have a good day.